Her pregnant belly was painfully obvious in the tense interview room as the panel's eyes moved from her resume to her 7-month bump, their smiles turning to thinly disguised contempt. "We need fully committed employees, not someone who'll be on leave soon," the HR director said coldly, pushing her resume aside. The Meridian Group's headquarters dominated Manhattan's skyline, a gleaming glass tower that screamed power and prestige. Its marble-floored lobby, gold-trimmed elevators, and massive crystal chandelier projected wealth beyond measure. Meridian managed trillion-dollar portfolios for governments, tech giants, and old-money dynasties worldwide. Its culture was ruthlessly appearance-focused. The right suit and pedigree opened doors, while the wrong look ended careers before they began. Sarah Shaw stepped into this cathedral of capitalism with careful, measured steps. At 32, her weathered face showed fatigue beyond her years, her pregnancy adding an extra layer of exhaustion to her features. She wore a faded navy cotton blouse and simple black maternity pants. Her graying hair was pulled back in a practical bun, a few strands escaping to frame her tired face. No makeup covered the dark circles under her eyes. Despite her humble appearance, Sarah carried impressive credentials. Dual MBAs from Princeton and Stanford, 15 years steering strategy for top investment funds in London, Tokyo, and Chicago, and personal endorsements from banking industry leaders. 10 years ago, she built Meridian's recruitment system as consultant, ensuring fairness and merit-based hiring. Today, she'd return anonymously to test that system. The receptionist, a young woman named Tiffany with perfect makeup and designer earrings, glanced at Sarah's pregnant form and wrinkled her nose. "Interview candidates use the side entrance," she said, pointing to a glass door, her voice dripping with disdain. Sarah nodded quietly, one hand protectively cradling her belly, and followed the direction while ignoring whispers from passing executives. In the waiting area, other candidates in designer suits formed a semicircle, their eyes locked on Sarah's obvious pregnancy and simple clothes. Rebecca Porter, wearing a Prada suit, pointed at Sarah's worn cotton tote bag. "Is that her briefcase or her hospital bag?" she snickered. James Wright, the pre-selected candidate, tossed a crumpled dollar bill at Sarah's feet. "For your baby's shower," he sneered, triggering laughter from the group. Another candidate with an expensive watch, Thomas Grant, snapped a photo of Sarah, posting it to a group chat labeled Meridian Elites with a caption, "Budget Mommy Candidate." The hallway echoed with their cruel laughter as phones recorded Sarah's discomfort. A junior HR coordinator, Amanda Lewis, watched from nearby, smirking without intervention. Sarah's fingers tightened around her tote, her weathered face showing a flicker of pain. But she remained standing tall, one hand still protectively covering her belly. The video quickly spread through internal channels, gaining hundreds of views with comments like "loss in turn" and "cleaning crew brought her own baby to work." The side entrance led to a sterile corridor where Sarah joined the line of candidates. James approached her again, looking at her pregnant belly with disgust. "Hope your water doesn't break during the interview," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear, drawing more snickers. In the interview room, a sleek conference space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. The panel awaited. HR Director Michael Bennett, a barrel-chested man in an expensive suit. Senior Manager Vanessa Miller, her red lipstick stark against her tailored blazer. And Operations Director David Cooper, his gold cufflinks glinting as he flipped through papers. Their eyes widened at Sarah's pregnant form, their smiles turning predatory. Michael leaned back chuckling. "Are you the actual candidate? I thought you were the cleaning lady." Vanessa smirked, adding, "Is this how pregnant women dress for interviews these days? No one told you Meridian has standards." Sarah's voice remained calm despite the humiliation. "Please review my resume and let's begin the interview." Michael snorted, tossing her file aside unopened. "We'll get to that," he said condescendingly, "if we decide your condition allows you to handle real work." The panel's questions were perfunctory and designed to dismiss. When Sarah began answering Vanessa's superficial question about market strategies, David deliberately interrupted by projecting a slide titled "Candidate Appearance Standards" with a red X over an image of a pregnant woman. "This is you," he said as the room filled with laughter. Michael cut off her response, saying loudly, "Speak up. We can't hear you over that baby bump." Vanessa slid a complex test across the table. This one's due in 3 minutes. Unlike you, who's due in what, 2 months? The panel snickered as James peeked into the door, giving Michael a knowing wink. The sabotage was blatant, but Sarah's pen moved steadily across the page, her weathered face betraying no emotion despite the cruelty. Amanda took screenshots of the slide, posting them to Meridian's internal messaging system with the caption, #babybrain, #failure to launch. Describe your experience with international mergers, Vanessa demanded, her pen tapping impatiently. Sarah began detailing her role in a $30 billion deal in Tokyo, but David immediately cut her off. That's enough, he said with a smirk. Sounds like assistant-level work. We need leaders who won't be distracted by diapers and daycare. Michael slid a complex 10-page financial analysis across the table. 5 minutes, he barked. Let's see if Pregnancy Brain has left anything functional up there. The test was deliberately impossible. Contradictory data, missing variables, and trick questions designed to ensure failure. Sarah's tired eyes narrowed slightly as she scanned the pages. She wrote steadily, one hand occasionally moving to support her lower back as discomfort flashed across her face. When time was called, Vanessa snatched the papers, barely glancing at them before tossing them aside. You're not a fit for our culture, she said dismissively. Wrong priorities, no executive presence. And frankly, you bombed the test. Meridian needs people focused on business, not babies. Before Sarah could respond, James strode in confidently, his designer suit immaculate. He'd been pre-selected after his family made a substantial donation to Michael's private foundation. James winked at Vanessa, who smiled warmly, sliding his file to the center of the table. Now, this is leadership material, she said loudly, ensuring Sarah heard. The panel laughed as Michael clapped James's shoulder. You're our guy, he said, completely ignoring Sarah's presence. The room's hierarchy was crystal clear. Connections trump qualifications, and pregnant women need not apply. Sarah stood carefully, supporting her belly as she rose. I don't recall any candidate impressive enough to bypass standard evaluation protocols, she said quietly but firmly. But if an envelope is enough to sway decisions, perhaps today's assessment has already served its purpose. The room froze. Michael's face reddened as he slammed his fist on the table. Are you suggesting we accept bribes? He shouted. Do you know who you're talking to? This is a leading financial institution, not a playground for hormonal accusations. Vanessa's smirk vanished as David leaned forward, his voice icy. You've got some nerve, lady. No wonder you're dressed like a nobody. Clearly your judgment is impaired by your condition. The candidates watching through the glass door whispered excitedly, sensing drama. Sarah didn't flinch but met Michael's gaze directly, her hand still protectively cradling her belly. I know exactly who I'm speaking to, she replied evenly, and who doesn't deserve a seat at this table. The silence was deafening as Sarah's words hung in the air. Vanessa whispered loudly to David. She's probably some desperate housewife fishing for a discrimination lawsuit. Look at her. Bet she typed that resume between prenatal appointments. The panel erupted in laughter as James joined in, mimicking a pregnant woman's walk. Better luck at the mommy blog, he said, high-fiving David. The hallway candidates recorded everything, posting videos captioned Pregnant Lady Crashes and Burns. Michael, still fuming, grabbed Sarah's test and tore it in half. This is what we think of your pregnancy-addled reasoning, he spat. Vanessa stood and pointed at Sarah's tote bag. Check that before she leaves, she instructed a security guard by the door. Hormonal women have been known to take things that don't belong to them. The guard, a man named Brian, stepped forward with a smirk. Open it, ma'am, he demanded. Sarah calmly unzipped her bag, revealing only a notebook and a worn finance textbook, but Brian shook his head anyway. Suspicious, he muttered as the panel laughed. Outside in the hallway, the candidates formed a gauntlet of mockery as Sarah walked past. Rebecca recorded a TikTok, commenting live. This is why Meridian's elite. We don't let just anyone waddle in. The video instantly gained thousands of views. Each share another public humiliation. Near the elevator, Amanda smirked at Sarah. Wrong floor. Han, Lama's classes are in the basement. The hallway erupted in cruel laughter, but Sarah simply pressed a button, her weathered face betraying no emotion as she stood tall despite her discomfort. Before the elevator doors closed, Michael stormed into the hallway, holding Sarah's unopened resume. "Don't bother coming back," he shouted, tearing the file in front of everyone. "Pregnant women are blacklisted here." The pages fluttered to the floor as Vanessa kicked Sarah's finance book toward her. "Maybe stick to bedtime stories," she said venomously. The candidates cheered, James calling out, "Back to the nursery." Brian, the security guard, chuckled, muttering into his radio, "Situation handled." The video of the resume shredding went viral internally, with comments celebrating Sarah's humiliation. Sarah quietly collected her book, her tote bag heavy with more than just paper as she stepped into the elevator. Her face remained dignified, but the Meridian Group was about to learn who they had mocked. 10 minutes later, the boardroom doors swung open, and Nathan Price, the CEO, strode in purposefully. At 48, he was legendary in finance circles. Sharp jaw, intense eyes, and a reputation for fairness as formidable as his business acumen. Nathan had built Meridian into a powerhouse, but he didn't glance at the panel as he approached Sarah, who'd been escorted back by his assistant. The room's atmosphere shifted instantly. The panel's smug expressions faded as Nathan stopped before Sarah, bowing slightly. "Madam Chairwoman," he said, his voice resonant with respect. "I apologize for keeping you waiting." The room fell silent as death. The panel's faces drained of color as Sarah unbuttoned her simple coat, revealing a gold-plated badge. "Chairwoman of the board, Sarah Shaw." Sarah turned to the panel, her tired eyes now blazing with quiet authority. "I didn't come to apply for a job," she said, her voice cutting through the silence. "I came to assess whether the recruitment system I built 10 years ago remains fair." She paused, her gaze locking on each panelist in turn. And the answer is clearly no. As Nathan's words, "Madam Chairwoman," echoed, the panel's arrogance collapsed into terror. Michael's face went ashen as he stammered, "Chairwoman? This is a misunderstanding." Vanessa's hands trembled, her red lipstick stark against her now pale skin. David's expensive cufflinks clinked as his hands shook uncontrollably. Sarah opened her tote bag and pulled out a tablet, displaying a live feed of Meridian's internal messaging system with all the mocking posts, videos, and comments about her. "You've built a culture of corruption and discrimination," she said calmly, "particularly against women who dare to be mothers and professionals simultaneously." Nathan's eyes darkened dangerously. "You're all suspended, effective immediately," he told the panel. "Security will escort you out." The room fell into stunned silence as the candidates in the hallway watched wide-eyed, their phones lowered in shock. Sarah placed a folder on the table. This contains evidence of payments made to secure positions, including Mr. Wright's family donation to Mr. Bennett's foundation. The folder detailed James's $150,000 contribution, bank transfers to Michael's offshore account, and emails from Vanessa promising James a position regardless of qualifications. By noon, Meridian's board launched a full investigation, uncovering an extensive network of paid positions and discriminatory practices. Michael faced fraud charges, his career in ruins. Vanessa's professional reputation was destroyed as #pregnancy discriminator trended on LinkedIn. James found himself blacklisted by major firms, his family's influence unable to save him. The investigation revealed Rebecca and Amanda had systematically targeted undesirable candidates, particularly pregnant women and mothers. Both were terminated, their social media accounts flooded with backlash for promoting workplace discrimination. Sarah's purge didn't stop with the interview panel. She convened an emergency board meeting and presented evidence implicating 20 managers in the bribery scheme, their names displayed on the boardroom screen as she instituted the Shaw Standard, mandating ethics audits and anonymous applications for all future hiring. The Financial Times live-streamed Sarah's address from Meridian's headquarters, her simple cotton blouse contrasting sharply with the opulent backdrop as she announced, "Meridian will judge candidates on merit alone, not appearance, not connections, and certainly not family status." Social media exploded with support, #Chairwoman Shaw trending globally. Users shared stories of pregnancy discrimination with the #Justice for Moms. The leaked interview footage reached 50 million views, showing Michael tearing Sarah's test, Vanessa's discriminatory comments, and James's mockery juxtaposed against Sarah's dignity and Nathan's respectful bow. Sarah's influence extended beyond Meridian. Her foundation launched a global initiative training women to navigate workplace bias during pregnancy and motherhood. The Shaw Standard was adopted by Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and dozens of other financial institutions, creating seismic change in hiring practices. The interview room where Sarah had been mocked was renamed the Shaw Conference Center, with a plaque honoring her fight against discrimination. Letters poured in from pregnant professionals worldwide, thanking her for creating space for both ambition and motherhood. Sarah and her husband, William, founder of a cybersecurity firm, spent quiet evenings in their Brooklyn brownstone. She still carried her simple tote bag, now containing ultrasound pictures alongside financial reports. Their wealth was considerable, but their commitment to fairness was greater. 2 months later, Sarah gave birth to a healthy daughter, Emma. As she held her newborn, she whispered, "You'll never have to choose between being a mother and being powerful. That's my promise to you." If this story touched your heart, please share your thoughts in the comments. Have you experienced pregnancy discrimination or witnessed similar treatment? Your experiences matter, and each share helps change perceptions about pregnant women's capabilities in the workplace.